Ready? Okay. Some time ago, the daughter of one of my mother's friends was hospitalized for anorexia. At 15 years old, my age, she had starved herself to the point where her life was in danger. Recently, a friend told me she had just learned her own mother had suffered from an eating disorder when she was younger. My friend had never known. Now, I'm sure most of you have already had moments where you weren't satisfied with how you looked, but imagine thinking that every single day. It's a thought that tends to stick, and when it does, it doesn't tend to be harmless. Now, as these stories started accumulating, I started to ask myself some questions. Eating disorders are something that is occasionally mentioned, but is rarely more than a light shadow in the back of our minds. So, because they were starting to appear more and more in my everyday life, I decided to do some research, and the numbers were staggering. In the United States alone, over 11 million people struggle with an eating disorder. 4 out of 10 individuals have either personally experienced one or know someone who has. Now, even though eating disorders are present one way or another in most of our lives, we never really ask ourselves why. How have such dangerous illnesses become so common we are now oblivious to them? Next time you walk in the streets, pay attention to the ads you see. The slender limbs, the perfect bodies, all contrast drastically with the reality you see about you. Muscular limbs, broad shoulders, and defined abs radiate a strength and confidence that are never quite as flagrant in your mirror. Magazines taunt us. We are never the right shape, the right weight, the right size. Look at these perfect humans, they tell us. Look at yourself. You're not good enough. Be thinner. Be more muscular. But it doesn't stop there. When I was small, I was given a Barbie whose legs were as thin as her arms. When my brother was a toddler, he received figurines where he could see every single muscle. From the time we are infants, we are bombarded with these ideals. But this way of thinking is extremely dangerous. These standards are unreachable ideals, and yet society tells us this is how we all need to be. They gnaw away at our self-esteem until we become completely convinced that we are inadequate, that eating at all will have drastic impact on our physical appearance, that by starving ourselves, we will eventually resemble these surreal creatures on posters or in magazines. This is especially true amongst adolescents. In these more vulnerable years, we are particularly prone to insecurities. And yet, even though anorexia has the highest fatality rate of any mental illness, only 1/3 of individuals in the United States struggling with it obtain treatment. 1/3. Because you see, in our society, it's not enough to be perfect. You must also make it seem as though it takes no effort at all. Eating disorders are hidden away as something to be ashamed of. The victims themselves hide it, and their close ones don't want to see it, making detection and treatment all the more complex. So how about saying, eat well rather than eat less? Be healthy rather than be thinner. Dove's campaign for real beauty, unretouched photos, and new Barbies are only a small first step towards changing the dangerous diktat of societal beauty standards. Companies can help, but true change depends on us. It depends on our generation to drastically modify the unreachable and noxious beauty standards society has put in place. It depends on us to end the silence surrounding its consequences, to tell little girls that you don't need to look like a doll to be beautiful, and little boys that you can be a hero even if your arms look nothing like Superman's. Thank you.